Welcome back, everybody, to the Rob and Ace and Rob Show. My name is Ace, as always is Rob. Remember, like, subscribe, hit all those buttons. Today, we're going to talk about the Godfather, if you will. And all due respect to Kevin Samuels, the Godfather is actually Patrice O'Neill. It's not you. I don't
Right.
know when he first started getting recognized for his opinions, but for me, I would say 2007-ish is when I first started hearing about Patrice. Like comedy wise, I've seen it. I saw his stop, his setup. I saw a few of his shows, but as far as hearing his pontifications, his thoughts about life, I didn't really get put onto that till like around that time.
Right.
And he thought, like, when I first heard it, it was like finding out Batman is Bruce Wayne, or like finding out Superman is Clark Kent. Like it was a revelation. Like, what the fuck? Like seriously, this is like somebody saying stuff that you inherently feel in your soul, but you're told your entire life you shouldn't say or feel. Like I give you a quote from Patrice. He said, I generally don't like living in a world where being what a man is a horrible thing. And no matter what a woman is a wonderful thing. You just feel that. Like
It's crazy to me that he died, what, like almost 10 years ago?
It was way more than 10. No, it's actually about, yeah, probably like 10 or 11 years ago. Like 2011, I think.
When you look at what society is after hearing you say that quote, it's like,
And the thing, that's what I'm saying. He was doing these interviews and these topics, and because he would always go on the Opie and Anthony show and have long pontificating rants and talk about life. And they kept bringing him back on because he's had such a different outlook than what normal people are used to. Like now we have this whole internet craze, the whole manosphere and red pill and all that stuff. But he was saying this stuff back then, before all that, before people were having like, a Kevin Samuels show, or Fresh and Fit, or Lapeef show, or any of the other shows that are out there that do the same thing. O'Shea, Duke, Jack, any of those guys.
yeah.
And he would get ostracized and vilified until he explained it. And when he explained it, as a man, you had no choice but to just agree because you inherently felt what he was saying. You just didn't want to feel it because you're told not to. Like I remember he said another thing. He was given a discussion about having a threesome with this girl because they were open. They were open. They didn't have to have an open relationship, but they were swingers. And his girl, like he had a girl that he said was clearly 60-40, like 60-40 women. She loved women more than men. He was just the man that she fell in love with.
Right.
But she still liked to have sex with women. So he laid out rules about threesomes that if you don't know, the female has to take charge. Again, if you're trying to have a relationship with this person, the female has to do all the legwork. She has to put in the work. And then once it gets down to it, you have to treat the other girl like she ain't shit. You got to treat her like she's a throwaway rag doll. Because if you show her any type of intimacy, that bullet is going right into your girl's brain. You might as well wrap that up. You got to treat her like she's a hooker. And he said for a long time they got hookers, and he kept telling his girl, like, look, I don't want to just keep paying hookers to come have sex with us. Like, why can't we just have a girlfriend? It makes no sense. You want to keep doing this. I have way more enough money and love to give to more than one person. So what is the problem? And he would have these long, drawn-out discussions. He even had some with her on the air where she couldn't really fight back because everything he's saying is pure logic. You can't be like, logic is the ultimate weapon to me because you can't beat it. Emotion doesn't beat logic. Like 2 + 2 is 4. I don't care how much you want.
The sky is blue.
Yeah, the sky is blue. Grass is green. Dirt is brown. I don't care how you want to feel about those things, but these are quintessential facts. And that's what logic is. You can't debate it at a certain point because 1 + 1 = 2. if you want it, like he said, if you want to have girls all the time, and I want to have girls all the time, and I don't want to pay for hookers, and you don't want to pay for hookers, then we need to get a girlfriend. That's the only logical explanation. There's only one outcome, and she couldn't fight back at that point, so they eventually did it. He had a bunch of other quotes I looked up earlier, like women don't want to win; they want a winner.
Yeah.
Every guy knows that.
I feel like I'm going to say so little today.
No, you're gonna. I'm gonna throw it to you.
I'm here just I'm in the church just listening to a pastor right now.
Oh, I'm gonna throw it to you because you're my deacon. If I'm the pastor, you're the deacon. You're definitely gonna get up here and speak at this pulpit. Another quote: "Women expect us to like them, but they don't even like each other."
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And the last thing he said, and I'm not going to quote it directly because it was a long rambling thought. He was talking about the difference between like and love for a man, and how it's way more important for men to like you than to love you.
Preach.
Because men give love away freely. Like I can love 15 different women. I have family members I love that I've never sit near. I don't want to talk to ever. I've blocked them. I love them. They're my family, but don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to be anywhere near you. But I don't have anybody that I like that I blocked. I don't have anybody that I like that I don't want to hang around or don't want to have conversations with. My like is precious to me. You got to earn my like. I'll give you love no matter what. I don't care. I'll give you, if you do something great for me and you're in my life for an extended time, you'll get my love. But to get my like, nah, that's rough. You gotta be likable. And he said a lot of women today aren't likable.
Oh man.
You're lovable, but you're not likable. To break it down in layman's terms, I'll fuck you, but I'm not gonna marry you. Because I don't want to be around you for the rest of my life. I don't want to have this conversation forever. What do we, like we had that conversation last episode about younger females. I'll have sex with 58, 20-year-olds in a row. I will never date them ever. I will never seriously date one. Because what are we going to talk about? After we're done having sex, what are we going to have to say besides, can you leave? Besides, it's getting late because you locked my door on the way out. That's it. That's all I got.
That's
what I want to talk about the Kardashians? No. Yeah, like you gonna order breakfast? Could you get out? Like there's nothing more to say because we have nothing in common. I have a 20-year age difference on you. The things I'm interested in, I'm pretty sure you're not, and vice versa. So, Rob, when did you first get introduced to The Godfather?
So very similar to what you just said. My first exposure to Patrice was through comedy, and I was definitely I was like obsessed with just stand-up comedy in general for a long time. I thought I was going to do it at some point, and I just never had the balls to. Because I always just knew that no matter what great jokes I could possibly come up with or write, I would forget them the second it's time for me to be on stage. And I'd be like, I got nothing, you know? But my exposure to him first was with comedy, and then it would be like TV shows that he'd be on. So one of the things was he would host like a couple of shows on VH1 at the time, where he would
what was it, that internet show?
Yeah, like clips on the internet, like hilarious.
He would review internet clips and then make fun of them.
Yeah. And from there I saw like a couple specials here and there, and this is before YouTube was like the easiest, biggest thing, you know. So exposure to him would come just in random spurts. I didn't listen to Opie and Anthony, but I just always knew Patrice was funny. And then when we were working together, you were telling me about his appearances on Opie and Anthony. And you would tell me some of the stuff he said, and I was just like, really? And that's when I started going back and looking up clips of him on that show, and which is crazy because it's stuff from over 10 years ago that is so inhumanly relevant today that I just never imagined how much influence he would end up having. To find out about like his lifestyle, and then even no matter what type of lifestyle you want when it comes to being a man and dating women, his attitude towards dating can be extremely beneficial.
To any man. It doesn't matter what age you are.
And for women, it's just that with men, we're going to accept this message right up front. It would take some patience and a significant amount more time for a woman to hear his message and be like, you know what? He's on to something. And I get that. But if you're a man who's listening to Patrice O'Neal, you know right off the bat, he's right most of the time. He's accurate. My favorite one was the penguin one. Penguin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the fishing one.
No, I love that one. That's a great one too. But the penguin one, like the shark versus penguin type thing.
Okay, so to for the people who don't know, and again, we're doing this episode so you can listen to us till we get the YouTube hits, then turn this off and go pull up Patrice O'Neal clips, because it's worth doing that.
Well, welcome to the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's worth spending a good weekend just deep diving all the stuff that he's talked about, all his comedy bits, all the Opie and Anthony shows. Just go type in Opie and Anthony Patrice. There's literally like 160 episodes he's been on. The shark penguin analogy is this: to humans, a great white shark is the most feared predator in the ocean. No matter what animal is in the ocean, no matter what thing is in the ocean, a great white shark is going to be the most feared animal. It's like being in the Serengeti and seeing lions. They're the king of the food chain. But to a female great white shark, the male great white shark is the top of the food chain. Like the male great white shark goes to the female great white shark like, that's my bitch. She's lesser than me. That's my woman. With female great white sharks, which can relate to women, they don't really want to feel like they got to put up with his great white sharkness all the time, like his manness all the time. They don't want that all the way in their face. So what they do is they go date penguins. They go date their food, and they play around with them. They bat them around, and the penguin is scared to lose them, and the penguin is scared to do this because it's a great white shark. I can't do this. And then what happens is the female great white shark goes, man, where all the good great white shark men at? This fucking pussy penguin, this pussy ass penguin lets me do whatever I want, talk to him any type of way I want to, do whatever I want. I need a real great white shark.
A shark.
But you ran away from the shark to get with that pussy ass penguin in the first place. Now you're upset and you blame the shark for not being around when you had your chance. To break that analogy down, women inherently, you could, and again, ladies, take your Buckleys. I apologize. It's not going to taste well me saying this, but if you're being honest with yourself, most women want a manly man. They don't want a pushover. They don't want a guy that they can say whatever they want to, do whatever they want to, and then that's the end of it. They want a dominant male in their life. The problem is you take that dominant male and you try to bitch him up every chance you get. And then you're mad when that dominant male doesn't want to be with you, so you deal with these lesser men that you can bully and tell and do what you want to do. But then you get upset and you miss that dominant male in your life. You can't have it both ways. Men are men. No matter how, we've been men since the dawn of time. We ain't changing. That's never going to stop. You trying to be with something lesser is you going against your nature, and you're never going to be happy with that because you don't want that. Like if you wanted that, there would be so many, like there wouldn't be incels if that was the case. There would never be an incel if women wanted men like that. Because incels will gladly do or say whatever you want to get that puss. That's just a fact. To get that vagina, they will do whatever you say. So you got to deal with the great white sharks. I love his fishing analogy, which is another way, again,
classic.
Women bitch us up. The fishing analogy is this. He told us on the Mark Maron podcast that he couldn't stop dying because it's just you as a man, you feel this in your soul. So
I think the fishing analogy is the easiest one for people to grasp.
Yeah. So there's a difference between hunting to like fishing for sport and fishing to live. There's a big difference between the two. When you're fishing to live, this fish has to die for you to live. That's different. But when you're fishing for sport, you go out, you get your best equipment, you go to your best spot in the lake, you cast your line out, you get the fish that you want. You hold it up, show it off to a few people, and then you throw it back in the ocean. Your girlfriend is the fish that stayed in the boat that you kept. The problem is you kept this fish. You thought this fish was so special that you decided to not catch any other fish. And the fish looks at you and says, well, why do you still have a boat? Why do you still have a fishing rod if you're not going to catch any more fish? I mean, you don't need that. I'm the only fish in the ocean for you, right? So you get rid of your fishing rod and your boat, and now she looks at you as lesser, like, oh, you can't catch me. You're not the same guy you met that caught me. You're not that guy anymore. With that, you're the one who made me put the fishing rod away. It's the same analogy. I get you as a woman. I decided you as a woman is worth more to me with me than me throwing you back out to the populace and having some other guy snatch you up. So I make you my woman. And now you decide that I can't do all the things that made you attracted to me in the first place. I can't be this manly guy anymore. I can't, talk to other women. I can't be this, I can't do that, because you don't want me to do all those things. But then when I become unsexy, because that's what eventually is going to happen to dudes, you wonder why. Because you made me throw my bait away. That bait is what caught you, stupid. Like, what do you think was gonna happen when I threw it all away? What do you think a dad bod is? You think men want to have dad bods? You think men want to have like a little pudge around there? No, we got that because we got comfortable because of you. So keep going, sir. I apologize. I cut you off with stories.
I mean, like you were just hitting it, and you're going into our separate specialties here. Like when you're talking about dad bod, right? The funny thing about Patrice was a big fat guy. I mean, that's why he died, right? But we don't want to have dad bods. What we want to do naturally, like we're not designed for the modern world. Human beings are not actually designed for the modern world the way that we think we are. We just happen to be so intelligent that we created the modern world that we live in. And Patrice knew that, but we're not designed for it. We are designed, our ancestors were designed to jump out of trees onto beasts and kill them and then take the meat home so that the family can eat and then, enjoy the fruits of that labor, which is sex. And the men who can't do those things, they just died.
They got murdered. They didn't just die.
They didn't procreate. They
got murdered.
Yeah.
Like think of ancient Sparta. When you were born deformed or weak or you just weren't going to cut the mustard, we'll throw your ass off a fucking cliff. I'm not dealing with this nonsense. There'll be no weakness, no weak men here. Nobody was like, oh, that's a terrible thing they do. They were like, yeah, we got to start doing that because they're breeding strong men. That was how we're smart cavemen.
Yes.
That's all we are. We're cavemen who figured out fire
We're smart.
to the 10th degree.
We're genius primates.
Exactly. And our primate comes out. Have you ever had, like, our primate comes out? I'll give you an example of when mine came out like 2 years ago. I remember I was at the mall. I'm buying something from the Adidas store. I'm buying like a bag and some shoes and stuff like that. And I'm at the register. I met with my girl. I'm at the register picking up the stuff. And it's this Arab dude screaming at the top of his lungs at the register, at one of the girls at the register right next to me, like literally 2 feet away from me. And I look over and I see he has a wife, he has a little baby in a stroller. And he's pointing a finger in this girl's face. He's screaming at her. And God bless her, she was holding her own. She was just like calm. She didn't react. She just stayed there. And my primate welled up, like my man protectiveness. I don't know this woman. I don't know this girl. I don't know this man. But my protectiveness said, no, you don't fucking do that to that girl. And I literally walked over within an inch of his face. I said, stop yelling, get your shit and leave, or we're going to have a problem. And he did his little, talk, but he got his stuff and left.
Hashtag noise.
Because that's the primal instinct. There was nothing in me that owed either of them that. I don't know this woman. I don't know this little girl. I don't know that guy. I don't know the family he was with. I know none of them. I'm a completely separate person. But instinctually, something said, protect this girl. That's inherent in most men. In 90% of men, that instinct to protect is there. You've told me stories of it. You dealt with that too. And it's not something you can control. It just comes out.
My primate, my primate side surfaced my first jiu-jitsu tournament, where you do your training and I'm entering it thinking this will be fun. I want to do a sport as an adult. I got in shape for a reason. Let me test it out. And when the referee says go, you realize the person across from you is not one of your training partners, and therefore he does not care about your well-being. So you got to not care about his well-being, and one of you has to win. There's no like third outcome. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the beast inside came out. And then I almost got like addicted to it, because that's when I just started signing up for tournament after tournament after tournament. But in the first tournament, the beast came out, and then the next couple of tournaments, he wasn't just automatically there. And then that's when I was just like, oh my God, I'm a human. I have to control this beast. I have to make him come out when he doesn't want to, and I have to put him away when he doesn't want to go away. And that is a huge burden that men face that women don't face, which is another thing that Patrice understood more than most people who were allowed to have a large platform, because there are checks and balances in place for when men act a fool. It's called police.
Yeah. It's called a punch in the face.
Yeah, men live in a world of violence that women don't see. We always know that violence is a possibility. It's always on.
We know that there's literally 5 seconds of violence happening at all times. You can literally go from, and it's happened to all men. Well, I'm not going to say all men, but majority of men have been in a situation, and within a minute, violence was starting, and you have no idea how you went from A to Z that fast.
Yeah,
and it could be something as simple as threats of violence or actual violence happening. That's what we live with every single day. Like he told a story about his girl. I don't know if you're going to go to this. I remember he told a story about why how one of the ways he keeps his girl in check is he was at like a movie theater or something. He was waiting in line with his girl, and his girl got into an argument with a dude that was like, Patrice O'Neal was like 6'4", like almost 300 pounds. He's a big dude. And she got into an argument. His little girl, who's like 5'6", got into an argument with a dude his size, like standing on the other side of the aisle. Like she's in his face going crazy. And what did he do? He walked away. And as soon as she realized he wasn't there, she stopped arguing with that big dude and ran over to Patrice and was upset. And how could you leave me there? You don't know what he could have did. And he said, exactly. So if you don't know what he's going to do, why the fuck would you argue with him like that? What you did is you put me in a bad situation because now I have to step in and protect you in a situation that shouldn't have started in the first place. You put me in danger. Like, and he said, I'm not your wrestling manager, bitch. I don't represent you. You don't start fights on my behalf. Like, if there's an issue, I will handle it. But you don't go around starting issues. Because if you start it, you're gonna have to finish it. Let's see what happens with that.
And what that is, what do we talk about on this show about what has been missing from Society Today and what's being heavily rejected? Accountability and the concept of men being a good guide to a woman. That is a story right there as to why a man needs to be a good guide to a woman. Because I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I think it's happened to every guy. A lot of girls, when they're riding in the passenger seat, when you're driving, think it's funny to randomly beep your horn. And how many times have you had to have the conversation where you're like, if a dude comes out of the car in front of us with a fucking gun, I hope he shoots you first.
I've never had that conversation because I'm a dictator in my car from day one. You don't touch my radio. You don't do that white girl, put your feet up on my dashboard nonsense. No, none of that. I am Fidel Castro in my car. I've luckily have never had to deal with that because I am a goddamn dictator.
That is it's weird how entitled.
I've heard of it. Like what you're saying, I've heard from a lot of guys. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Luckily, I'm a goddamn psychopath when it comes to my car.
I'm not kidding. Every single female I've ever dated or been with, when driving, has done that. Like, and it's bizarre.
And it's
bizarre how they think that's okay. I'm like, if I have to get into a fight now, because
it's what you just said. It's what we just talked about with the Patrice thing. They understand that they are under the umbrella of our manness. So if something happens, they are naturally looking to you to handle it. If somebody kicks in the door to your house, you don't look at each other and say, well, you got it this time? All right, I got it last time, so you get it this time. No, as the man, she's going to look at you to handle the situation. And if you don't handle the situation, you ain't going to have a girl no more.
That's what it is.
Wife, you ain't have a girl, you ain't have a partner, whatever y'all call each other. They ain't going to be that way no more. It's just over at that point because the respect is gone. And a woman that don't respect you, you might as well leave right there. You might as well end it at that point because it's going to end immediately. It's going to end eventually, and it ain't going to end on your terms. It's going to end with you walking in her legs in the air while she getting the train ran on her. That's how it's going to end. It's going to end with your heart in a million pieces while your girl is sucking 8 dicks. That's what's going to happen.
Shambles.
Yes, you are never going to recover from that. And rightly so, because you didn't do what is expected of you. They expect us to protect them. So under that protection, they feel like, oh, I can do something silly. I'll give you know what? That never happened to me, but I'll tell you something that did happen to me. My ex-wife is white. Before we were married, before we had our son, we were just dating, we lived together. Now, we lived in an area that was a little bit more affluent than there wasn't a lot of black people living there, I should say. There's like, in the whole complex, there was like one other black person living there. And she was actually right above us, which was weird. So we're living in this community. We went out for Ruth Chris dinner, nice night. We were dressed up. I got a stomach full of steak. I am ready to hit the couch. I'm ready to watch some TV or pass out in bed, one or the other. Literally within, I'd say, 300 yards from my house, I get pulled over. It's a 25. I know I'm going 25 because I know the area. I've lived there for a year, so I know where the cops hang out. So I know I'm going well under the speed limit. Cop pulls me over. License, registration. Again, I'm a black man with a white woman in the passenger seat. Just to paint the picture. License and registration. No problem, sir. Get the information. What do you think happens as soon as I give the information over? She starts yapping. That's what happens.
Really?
Yes, because why? We've all seen cops. How do white girls talk to cops? It ain't pleasant. It ain't
Excuse me.
who are you? Who are you to pull me over? How dare you? That's what happens.
It's like a bad Dave Chappelle, like, not bad because Dave Chappelle's amazing, but
No, it's
excuse me, there's a white person talking here.
The reason this shit is so great is because it's reality. That's why we all know it's true. White people can't deny it. Black people can't deny it. Everybody knows that person, and it's usually a white girl. So
excuse me, I am a white woman.
She starts going in, and within 3 words, I'm like, sir, what was the issue? Oh, where am I coming from? We're coming from Ruth Chris. We live literally, and I'm pointing to the place. I literally point to it. We live right there. I'm just driving home. Oh, okay. Your license says something else because I have multiple homes.
Right.
That I have multiple residences. So when I have a residence here that my mother lives, that's where my information is located. I actually live here. If you want to follow me, I can open the door for you. It's not necessary. Just, make sure you mind your speed. No problem. Thank you, officer. You enjoy the rest of your night. We pull up to the house. I say, don't ever do that again because you won't have a dead black boyfriend. When the cops pull us over, shut up. He just pulled us over for no reason. You're right. This is America. I'm black. That's what happens. Don't get me killed. It never happened again, luckily. But from that point forward, I never had to worry about that conversation because that's what you got to do. You got to teach them accountability.
It's crazy. That exact scenario also happened to Donovan Sharp.
Yeah, it happens to every man who dates a white woman. Yeah. Eventually,
every black guy dates a white woman.
Yeah, if you date a white woman for an extended period of time as a black man in this country, you're gonna get pulled over at some point because we get pulled over. That's what happens. We don't have to be doing things wrong to get pulled over. I used to get at my old place, not the one I lived with her, but right before there, I lived in a decent area of a town called Union, New Jersey. Nice suburban area. I used to get pulled over once a month for a year straight. Never got a ticket because they couldn't get me on anything. There was nothing wrong, but they would pull me over.
I remember you had to call out of work one day because of it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't calling out. I had to call in late because I knew I was going to be late because they pulled me over. They ran all my stuff. There was nothing. They kept me there for like 20 minutes and then I was on my way. And I literally asked like one of the cops, like, am I driving wrong? Like every month you guys pull me over. And I can't even be mad at how racistly honest this person was. Like he was, if he wore his Klan hood in public, that's how racially honest he was. He looked at me and said, come on, you know where you live. with no malice behind his voice, just like, we're going to do this. You're black and you live here. Come on, stop it. You know the rules.
It's like, you know how this department is. I got black cop friends.
You know where you live. Come on. He might as well have said mooly afterwards. That's how racist, like overtly racist it was without being overtly racist. Like I couldn't even be mad at him. That's how racist it was. But that's part of living in this country as a black person. You know that. On the flip side, if you're dating a white woman, like I said, you're going to have her in the car at some point, and the cops are going to pull you over, and she's going to do white woman stuff because she doesn't know any better. It's not even like an angry thing. Like I don't even think what white women don't do it as like a malicious thing because I don't think they do. I think they think that the cops treat everybody fairly. I always talk to the cops like this, so I'm going to do it now. And then bang, 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 Emmett Till.
And you know what's
bang,
interesting?
Bang, bang, Philando Castile. You're going to get killed.
You know what's really interesting about this is since we're talking about Patrice a lot for most of this episode, is Patrice has a major story about this, and this is the story as to how he ended up coming to the conclusions that he came to. Like this was the start of the ball rolling for him and how he was figuring out how women work and everything.
Okay, tell the story.
Yeah. So when Patrice was 16 years old, he was playing hooky in high school with like 2 guy friends of his and 2 girlfriends of his. So the ratio was 3 guys, 2 girls.
Oh, I remember this story.
And
this is tragic.
Oh, it's horrible. And his whole like they're out having a good time, skipping school, and one of the girls had a boyfriend, and they're doing their whole talking nonsense thing, and the one girl says they're talking overtly sexual stuff, and the one girl says, mind you, these are 16-year-olds, and mind you, this was in the 80s. This isn't even now where you can guarantee so many women have been exposed to just highly deviant sexual behavior. This was back in the 80s when there were still like good girls around. This girl's like, well, don't listen to her because she's a talker. I'm a doer. And that was like a signal for Patrice.
Every man's antenna should have went up when he said that.
Yeah. Patrice's internal wiring started to kick in. I guess maybe that was his primate moment.
Yeah.
And him and like they drop one of the girls off somewhere, and him and his two friends run a train on this girl.
This white girl. You got to point out the fact that she was a white girl.
16-year-old white girl
in Boston.
In Boston. Got a train run on her by
set the mood, because those two things really do matter.
Yeah, and yeah, this is in Boston, known for being one of the more racially not friendly
in the 80s
major
big
city.
Black guy, little white girl.
Yeah. And so what do you call it? So she has what we'll call buyer's remorse, or the oh my God, my reputation's going to get destroyed, so I'm just going to lie about what happened and cry rape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to the school, says it was rape, and they go to the police, and Patrice tells his mom what happened. And his mom sent him away. Not like,
as she should have.
Yeah, she sent him. She was just like, they're going to, like, if they get you, it's a wrap. And I'm believing every word you're saying. And I don't believe this girl I believe this girl is lying. But they're going to come for you, and they're not going to listen to you. And they're going to try you as an adult. So she basically aided and abetted his escape plan, but he ended up getting caught anyway, and he ended up doing time for it.
Yeah, he did a full summer.
He did a summer over a statutory or rape case where he didn't do anything but hook up with some dumb hoe.
And I have said, and I will say it from the mountaintops down to the seas, for any young men listening, technology wasn't available back then. It's available now. If you hook up with anyone, you get the "I didn't rape you" text immediately. We're getting off subject, but this is something that people need to hear. You get the "I didn't rape you" text immediately. And what the "I didn't rape you" text is you text her to get some type of acknowledgement that this was consensual. You can say, "Hey, did you have a good time? Hey, I really like being with you. You mind if we hook up again?" Anything to get her to say, "Sure, yeah, it was fun, blah, blah, this and the third." And you save the hell out of that shit. Because you never know. Continue.
Well, that's it. That's the big story. That's his we were going into the sort of the stuff that a black guy has to deal with that a white guy may not, but also the stuff that men have to deal with that women don't have to deal with. There are checks and balances out here for men that are not there for women. You've seen it on World Star. How many women have to get into fights and have no repercussions, no consequences, and do foul? I just saw a video today of this white woman straight up attacking a woman holding a phone.
Oh yeah, that Victoria's Secret thing.
And then immediately like goes up and starts crying to the clerk, saying that she got attacked. And the lady who had the phone was just like, "I literally recorded you the whole time. Are you serious?"
But she's able to do that for what reason? Because one, she's white. Two, I know the mall she was in. I get it. And three, she's never had to face consequences.
Right.
Like that's there are certain things that as a man, like there's never a I don't, in the history of ever has there been a woman who had a rape beef, who had a man claim that she raped him.
Right.
It's never happened. Find the case, go through the dockets. I don't care how long you take. It's never happened in the history of ever. There's never been a woman who said, yeah, I fucked Clarence. We was consensual and everything, but then he went to the cops and said, we ain't really want to do it, or he ain't really want to fuck me. It's never happened. That's just something we have to live with as men. Like as a man, from the age of like 25 going forward, I always had that thought in my head. Like because I know a guy in high school who went through that, who he lost a promising possible NFL career because of a statutory rape beef that was false. So that always is in my head. I'm like, I'm never going to go through that. I'm always going to protect myself. You never know what's going to happen. I'm getting that text and I'm saving it, or I'm getting some type of acknowledgement that this was consensual and I'm saving it, because you never know. And that's just part of that's some of the things that he would point out as, like, we hear that story as men and we're like, that's fucked up. What I loved about his outlook on life is he didn't hold any malice towards this female. He held malice to one of the dudes he did it with, because that dude just basically put it all on him, even though they both were doing it. But he didn't hold any malice to the woman. And I remember it was either, I think it was Opie that asked him why. He was like, look, there's going to be checks and balances for everything. Like, as a man, I know I can physically rape a woman. That is something I can do. I'm never going to do it, but I have the physicality to do it. Women have to live with the fact that they can be raped. So as a man, I have to live with the fact that I can be accused of rape. That's just part of being a man. I can't be mad that it happened, because it's going to happen. You just got to protect yourself. And I didn't do that. Like, he took accountability for something that he didn't even do. That was his outlook on life. His outlook was like, there's one final quote I want to share, and then we could just do anecdotes for the rest. But they asked him about his career and why he's so difficult to work with and why he isn't bigger, because there was no comedians at that time that would ever say they were funnier than Patrice O'Neal. To this day, top comedians like Kevin Hart has said it himself, Patrice was way funnier than me. Patrice helped bring him into the game. Dave Chappelle has said he was one of the funny. Joe Rogan, like giants in the comedy game, have all said Patrice was funnier. Yes, they've said Patrice was funnier than him. But Patrice was funnier than they are. Chris Rock, same. Patrice was funny. Chris Rock had a brilliant, like he clowned Patrice so bad, because he even admitted it live when he said, yeah, you're funnier than me, but you're an asshole to work with. I get along, you don't. And that was his main thing about why he couldn't get ahead, is he said it clearly. What I'm trying to do is be righteous. And when I say righteous, I don't mean God, God righteous. I just mean when I wake up, I know I was honest to myself. Like, if he had a gig that he was supposed to do and it would have just helped his career, but he knew he didn't want to do it, he wouldn't do it. Or he'd do it and be a dick about the entire time because he doesn't want to do this.
That's hilarious.
Like, he said one of the greatest things, I've used this in my life forever. He said, I'm not a morning person. So why would I smile at you in the morning? I don't want to be up this early. Why am I going to put a smile on? I don't want to be here. That's just being honest. Like, you can be facetious and smile and, hey, top of the morning to you. No, fuck out of here. I don't want to be here. 6 a.m. What are you doing? I want to go home and sleep till 10. Like, especially as him as a comedian, I worked until 3 and I got to be here at 6. And you think I'm going to be smiling and happy? No, fuck off. That's living righteously. And that's part of, like, being accountable. Like, he said he used to be mad at it, but he realized, like, this is my fault. I have to be okay with this. Like, if I want to live this way, I got to be okay with the results and the consequences that come from this. Like, I'm never going to be top of the line, top of the food chain, because I can't play the game. I learned that myself in my career. In corporate America, it is, I will say, 30% to move ahead. It's 30% skill, 60, I'll say 60% kissing ass, or knowing the right people, and 10% education. That's how you get ahead in corporate America. What your skill level, your ability to do the actual job is about 30% of what they're looking for to move you up the line. The other 60 is, hey, 70 is, does he have the right education? That's 10%. And the other is, do I want to work with him? Is he workable with? Is he somebody I can, tell to do X, Y, and Z, and he'll do it? I learned I had to get out of corporate management because I'm never that guy. I don't know how to play let me rephrase. I know how to play the tap dancing game, but I can't do it like internally in my soul. I can't be that guy. Hey, you want me to do the spreadsheets and stay, for an extra 5 hours and not get any type of pay for it, and then not even get acknowledged that I actually did all the work in the first place? Sure. No.
It's like having to be a method actor.
It's exactly
like the Undertaker had to be the Undertaker for 30 years.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was days he's like, I'm just fucking Mark, man. Just call me Mark. Just call me Mark. I'm Mark Calloway. I'm not the Undertaker right now. I'm just a guy getting the sub. I just want to get this hot dog and leave, guys. But you have to play that game to get ahead. Like you, as any wrestling heads out there, I implore anyone to tell me the difference between Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff, or Hulk Hogan and Lex Luger, or Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. Because the first three, you're going to say, yeah, there's no difference between any of them. They're pretty much the same person. Hulk Hogan kissed more ass, but they all look exactly the same. The difference between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Savage is there's no one in the world that will say Hulk Hogan is a better wrestler than Macho Man. More popular, sure, but never say he's a better wrestler. Not better on the mic, not a better wrestler, not more entertaining to watch. But Macho Man was a dick to work with. Macho Man was an ass. There's a lot of bad stories about him. It's the same thing with John Cena. People have talked bad about John Cena because John Cena was Vince McMahon's guy. He did what needed to be done to stay on top. He did all the Make-A-Wish meetings and all the things that eat your vitamins and did all the good American hero type of nonsense. But CM Punk was better. There's nobody who's going to say CM Punk wasn't a better wrestler. CM Punk outsold him on merchandise for a couple of years. He was the top Twitter trending for a long time, for years. But he was also an asshole to work with. So he's never going to be remembered as fondly as John Cena is, because that's how you get ahead in that thing. It's 30% skill, 60% kissing the right ass, and 10% your actual education and knowledge.
Yeah.
And he had everything as far as skill. He had everything as far as knowledge. Patrice, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he was an ass to work with, and he understood it and he accepted it. He wasn't mad at the system because the system is the system. It's been the same way since Hollywood has been invented. It's not going to change. The same way I don't get mad at male-female relationships.
Who dislikes the system more than us, as we are men who work within that system? Who dislikes the system?
Women.
Yes.
The ones who it benefits the most.
This is why they think that the wage gap still exists, and why they think, I have to do so much more than this man in order to get the same pay, or in order to get ahead. I know I'm not going to get the promotion. I just had this conversation with a group of women the other day or 2 weeks ago, and they were saying, like, I refused to even engage in the conversation because I knew it wasn't going to end well. But they were just like, I have to do this. I know they're going to try. They're probably going to give it to this guy anyway. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know what he does. You know what you see. And you're not willing to kiss ass. And you think it should just be given to you on merit. And you don't know if he's working harder than you or not. You just assume you're working harder. And it's not all based on merit. It's networking. And men are better at networking. Period. They just are.
We're more aggressive. We ask for what we want. We request it.
It's just, and that's just the way it is. And the funny thing is when we started going off on wrestling and how you started comparing it to wrestling, because Patrice was so brilliant that at one point he was a writer for WWE.
Yes, he was for like a year, I think he said.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy how much of an understanding. And I'll say this, not that this is going to be a show about wrestling, but wrestling's popularity had been dwindling for a long time. But during the COVID lockdown, people have started watching wrestling a lot more than in recent years. I don't know if that's going to stick around, and it's never going to be as popular as it was when you and I were huge fans. But in the last year, people have started getting into it again, and I think part of it is because wrestling, the story and the culture of pro wrestling, it's old school. It doesn't play by a lot of these modern day tropes. It has gotten a little bit more feminism friendly, but it is not the same level of what you're seeing with like Disney and modern day mainstream media and entertainment. It's still a throwback in terms of culture. And I hope it stays that way. I think we need it to stay that way, but that's besides the point.
That goes into what I was saying. Like, for the people who know the game and understand the game fully, you don't get mad if the game is not going your way, because you understand you're not doing what you need to do to play the game properly. Either you're not doing it or you're unwilling to do it. The people, and it's the same thing with men. Since the dawn of time, we've been the same general people. We've been the same gender since throwing rocks at giant buffalo.
Yeah, we haven't changed. We're not going to.
And that's the point. We're not going to. But the people who are upset is that, why aren't you changing? Because we're never gonna. That's how we are. This is what we are.
Because fuck you. That's why.
Yeah, you either accept what we are or you don't. Other than that, there's nothing I can do to help you. And that's the point. Like, we accept women to be feminine creatures. We accept women to act like women. We don't complain. Like, I don't know men who are in the situation where they're paying for everything, or they're in the dominant role in their relationship, or they're the breadwinners and they have a stay-at-home wife, who are complaining that they pay for everything. No, we signed up for that. We know what we're doing. We didn't get tricked into it. It's what we are. So on the flip side, you can't be mad if you signed up to be like, if you're a female and you love men, you can't be upset that the man that you naturally inherently desire is not also this other man that you don't desire, but you want him to be because society tells you he should be like that. Just be the guttural, have that guttural instinct that you always do. Live righteously, like Patrice said. If you know you like, don't be upset. Like, if you're with a man like Melania Trump, if you're with a man who pays for everything and you're fine with it, fuck what everybody else thinks. He's an old, disgusting man, and he puts his old wrinkly penis in me and made a baby, and now I get paid everything for the rest of my life. I'm happy. Who cares what people think? Melania is a goddamn soldier. She didn't get tricked into coming over here and marrying fat ass Donald Trump. She didn't get, tied to a post and, oh my God, no, she knew what she was getting into, and she did it willingly because the outcome was what she wanted. Don't feel sorry for her. Like, I saw all those articles. Oh, I feel so bad for Melania. Why? Because you don't live on her yacht? Because you don't have her $5,000 necklace on? Like, she has to put up with Donald Trump. And what woman dating a billionaire doesn't have to put up with that shit? And if they don't put up with it, they're not around. Miss Bezos, Miss Gates. Like, there was a story. Did you follow the Bill Gates divorce?
Um, moderately.
Okay, so there was
I
a story
followed the
that came
whole
out.
government conspiracy theory that he's probably been molesting kids on
I
Epstein.
don't buy any of that. I don't buy none of that. I listen to none of that nonsense. I go with hard facts, and the hard facts of the situation are this: he, for the time that they were married, had a side chick that he knew before her,
An ex-girlfriend, yeah.
an ex-girlfriend that he would spend the summers with, and it was an arrangement. That's what billionaires do. She was fine with it. She wasn't upset that he was going off to bang his ex-girlfriend for a summer and then coming back home and feeling refreshed. She signed up for that. She knew what it was. That was the consequence for her choice. The problem is and I'm not going to say modern women or whatever you want to call it, is they want the choice, but not the consequences that come with the choice. I want this manly man, but I also want him to be sensitive. I want him to be sensitive, but I also don't want him to be too sensitive because then I wouldn't like him anymore. But then also, could he be super duper manly too? Like, could he be the man like I can, if something happens, I can cower behind him and he'll save the day like he was an S on his chest. But also, could he also be vulnerable to my touch, like if I'm kryptonite? Like, bitch, pick a man, pick one.
Right. They want there to be some new type of man that's never existed in history.
That's what I'm saying. Like that man isn't ever going to exist in the history of ever. In the history of mankind, that man will never live.
The best thing that can exist is a guy who knows this and is willing to fake it sometimes.
Or who can generally give you some of it. And even then, if he gave it to you, you're not even going to want it. Like I remember, I got this from Patrice because he talked about doing that with his girl. He said, they were having, she said, why do you always got to be so fucking hard all the time? He said, because if I'm not hard, and then what? Then how you gonna like it? So he said, you know what? For the next month, I'm gonna be the guy you want. I'm gonna call you Snuggles Boo Boo Bear. I'm gonna open doors. I'm gonna lay on your chest. I'm gonna tell you all the woes of the day. I'm gonna be that super sensitive guy. I'm gonna watch and eat bonbons and do your toenails and do all the stuff you want. And by day 3, she was like, could you stop? Could you go back? Like, I don't like this. I did the same thing. I was a supervisor in sales. If anybody's worked a high volume sales job, you know it can be stressful. It can be rough. And you got to demand results. You can't just ask, you have to demand results, because if you don't get the results, you don't justify your position. And if you don't justify your position, you get gone. That's how sales works. So I told my team, because I always had the thing like, I'm blunt. I was the rough guy. Why are you so mean? I'm like, no, I'm not mean. I'm blunt. I'm just telling you what it is. Like, if we're all numbers, this ain't about feelings. It's about results. So I said, you know what, guys? For you, for the next month, I'm just going to be the nice supervisor. If you don't make a sale, hey, give it a next try another time. If you don't give 100% effort, oh, you know what? You'll do it next time. Good job. Good try. I was clapping. I was doing all the things you see a Disney coach do. And by day 3, they were like, could you stop? Because first of all, my numbers are going down, and this is bullshit. Like, oh, so you want me to be the guy that drives you so you make those $5,000 paychecks. Oh, okay. All right, so then I'll go back to being the guy you need. And that's the perfect dichotomy for a male-female relationship in 2020, 2021. We can be that guy you want. Like, I'm a very good actor. I can be that sappy halfway beta male you want, but you don't want that. You're going to be upset with it within 2 days. Like, just be okay with who you have. Anything else to add, Rob?
No, I mean, that's fitting. The guy, like, especially speaking about what we were just talking about, the guy, even though he it's weird, he died the way he lived. It's like you said, it's not that he didn't want to be someone people didn't get along with, but he wasn't going to compromise, and he was willing to get paid less because he wasn't going to give away that part of himself.
Mm.
And as a result, part of it, he also would, everyone got on him about his health, and he was just like, no. He's like, I'm never getting in shape. I'm never going to eat right, and I'm probably going to die a horrible death because of diabetes. And then he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just,
and he didn't blame the Diabetes Association of America. It's like, no, I know what happens. I should be working out. I should be eating better, but I don't want to. So I'm not gonna. And I'll probably die young, and that's what happened. But again, he was about living righteously. That's just what it was. So, guys, again, we're gonna cut this short because again, you shouldn't be listening to us right now. You should have already been into a Patrice deep dive, but take the time, listen to some of his podcast, listen to some of the podcast interviews he did. The Mark Maron one is exceptional because he breaks down a lot of the stuff.
yeah, and it's quieter than what you usually hear from him.
Yeah, listen to some of the old Opie and Anthony stuff. Besides the comedy, like pick out the jewels. Yeah. But the man was ahead of his time, and this was just a tribute podcast to the Godfather. You know, rest in peace.
I hope listeners who haven't been exposed to Patrice now have an excuse after listening to us to get into more Patrice. You know,
exactly. That's the whole goal of this podcast. So again, we said what we're going to say. We already gave kudos and props to what he did for each of us. But for us, we're going to sign off right now. Again, you know, like, subscribe, hit all those buttons. We are going to catch you when we catch you. You guys enjoy the rest of your week.
Excellent.